Welcome to the Word of God with Millie. Today I want to speak to you about the focused eye that waits on God. Now, waiting is not as easy as many of us would think. It's actually very hard, but it can be done. Waiting is not being passive, but it's actually active. Now, why do we need to wait? We wait upon God to act on our behalf. We wait for God to deliver us, to lead us, to guide us. We wait to hear instructions on the way that we should go. We wait to receive guidance on what to do in whatever circumstances that we are dealing with. Now, many of us, when we're in that place of waiting, and we find that the things that we've been waiting for has been delayed, we become impatient. And we become impatient and we begin to hewn for ourselves solutions. Now, these solutions most of the time are not in accordance to the will of God for our life. Actually, they are counterfeits. When you look back into the Bible, we see a people who became impatient on waiting upon God. So the children of Israel have come to Mount Sinai, and God has asked Moses to go up the mountain and wait with him. Do you know that other word of waiting is not only, it is gathering together, hopefully gathering together with God. And the children of Israel were to be below the mountain in the camp, waiting patiently, waiting expectantly to hear what the Lord would say to them. But they became impatient. And then they come to Aaron and they tell Aaron that this Moses, we do not know where he has gone. How can they say that they do not know where Moses has gone? Well, they have known that the presence of God has been with them as a form of a cloud and as a pillar of fire. And they were able to see the devouring fire of God up the mountain. So they should have been assured that so long as that fire is up that mountain, they are saved and Moses is safe. And so they lost faith in God because they could not see God, or they could not see Moses. You know, Moses, I realized when I read that the scriptures in Exodus 32, he represented to them the symbol of the presence of God. He was the symbol of Jehovah to them. And so when they realized that Moses is not coming quickly as they would have thought, they decided to hewn for us themselves a God. You know, many times when we are impatient, what we tend to do, we tend to go back to the old way of doing things. Instead of pursuing the unseen things of God, instead of entering in a path that we are not, or we do not know, a path that brings new things into our lives, we tend to go backwards to the old. No different from these people. They set up a calf through Aaron, of course. They set up a calf. Now that calf represented a symbol of a god they used to worship in Egypt. That tells me there were elements in their midst who were still not fully given themselves to God, had not fully given their lives of faith in God, the unseen God. They still wanted symbols. They still wanted things that can show them that God is with them. And so they set up a calf to worship. And God, who is omnipresent, he is there up the mountain. He is down the mountain. And I want you to remember that no matter where you are, God is there. And God tells Moses, go down. These people have turned away. They are stiff-necked people. They have turned away and they've started worshiping other gods. And he says, this your people. Why would God say this your people? because he was jealous. Do you know that these people had elevated Moses more than God? They had begun to worship or see Moses as a symbol of the presence of God. They were beginning to elevate Moses far above. And no wonder God said, "This your people." Oh, wait, God, I thought these were your people whom you chose and delivered from Israel. Moses was very clever. He was able to intercede and stand in the gap on the people. Anyway, we are talking about waiting. And so we are told that when Moses came down and he saw the people in resensuous worship, probably they were clapping their hands and they are bowing down to this God that they have set up. He was shocked and he dropped the tablets of the instructions that he had gotten from God on the floor, and they broke, and he could not believe his eyes. And you know what? That day, and I need to cut this short, what happened at the end of the day is that by the end of that day, 3,000 men were dead. And not only 3,000 men, God was still not through with them. God sent to them a plague. Do you know a plague is also like a pandemic? It's also like a disease. If you look back in history, there are plagues that have happened in nations. And right now, we are in a form of a plague of COVID-19. Is it possible that God is telling us something that we have hewn for ourselves gods? Now, these gods could be money, possessions, they could be people, whatever we have set and elevated above God. So it is time to gather back. It is time to be still and gather back to God and tell him he is the only one whom we shall serve, and he's the only God, and there is no other God in our lives. Moses was clever because God not only did he say or did he send the plague to them, he also said, "I will not go with you. My presence will not go with you." And instead, he said, "I will send my angel," because God is faithful to his word. He kept his word. He will lead you to the place that I promised you. And he said, "Be obedient to that angel." Hey, wait a minute. Yes, I'm happy about angels, but what about the presence of God? Can the angel of the Lord substitute the presence of God? If the angels of God cannot substitute the presence of God, why do we think there is anything on this earth or above, heaven above, could substitute the presence of God? And so Moses begins to intercede on behalf of the people and for himself. And he says, "Oh God, we shall not move from here unless your presence goes with us." Now, there is where the aspect of waiting comes in. When you decide that all this time I've been going my ways, all this time I've been doing the things I want, I have not even waited to hear what is the direction or what does God want me to do or which way does God want me to go, or even to wait to know that the presence of God is with you. And so it is time that we begin to wait again. And that waiting is expectantly, focused, setting our minds on him and him alone and saying, "God, I want you. I want your presence and I need you. And I want to see your presence go with us." And this is what Moses did. We are not told how long that period was. It could have been a very short period, or he could have been a long period. But Moses did not move from there until God spoke and said, My presence will go with you. And not, one of the things about waiting is an aspect of being still. Now, when you're waiting upon God, don't come with, oh, I want this, the things that you've been believing God that you feel have been delayed in your life. Maybe you're waiting for a spouse. Maybe you want promotion. Maybe your business is not doing well. Or maybe there's sickness and disease. But you're looking for all kinds of solutions. Now, if there's a tendency to come and ask for things, waiting is not about us, but about God. It is about focusing on Him and what He wants and what He shall say unto us. And you wait to hear. How do you know that your waiting have been fruitful? You will hear. You will know. You will hear instructions. You will hear the word of God saying, this is the way, walk ye in it. And so waiting is not about asking. Waiting is being still. Waiting is focused with expectation upon God, that He will come in your life. It could take one day. It doesn't mean you're forever just there waiting, but it could take many days, but your mind is set on things above and on God alone, and say, I'm here, I'm humbling myself before your presence, and I'm waiting on you. The Bible actually says, but those who wait for Yahweh, they will inherit the land. That is in Psalm 37. It also says in that 37, verse 34, fret not, be quiet, wait on God. There's an aspect of quietness also when it comes to waiting on God. And so wait, Proverbs 20 says from verse 22, wait for the Lord and He will save you. So there's an aspect of waiting. Psalm 27:14 says, wait for the Lord. So today, I want you're in whatever situation you are in. Do you know there's hope and there's a solution? Now, instead of being patient and running helter-skelter to look for solutions, stop, be still, wait. Wait actively, focused on God, with your eye on Him. Imagine His presence before you and wait. Humble yourself and tell Him, you see me, for He is a God who sees. Let Him see you. Don't try to defend yourself. Don't try to be anything that you are not. Be real. But be there in the presence of God, and for sure you shall hear. God bless you as you wait on the Lord.